Imagine you've just spent like 6 months doing this really deep introspective work.
Oh yeah, the heavy lifting.
Right, exactly. And you finally figure it out. You realize the exact reason you self-sabotage your career. Or maybe why you always pick the wrong partner.
You finally get the answer.
Get the answer. And you put in this neat little mental box, you tie a bow around it, and you stick a label on it.
Which feels amazing,
It
honestly.
feels great. You feel secure. You feel figured out. But what if I told you that putting that answer in a box is actually, well, the most dangerous thing you could possibly do for your future?
It's completely counterintuitive.
It really is. Welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to completely flip everything we are taught about self-development, therapy, and that holy grail we call closure.
Yeah, we're dismantling all of it today.
We really are.
Hmm.
We're diving into this profoundly unsettling idea from our source material that a solved life is actually a trap. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, it's a trap we walk into willingly, mostly because from a very young age, we are trained to approach our own lives like a detective arriving at a crime scene.
Oh, like looking for clues.
Exactly. Think about how we are taught to handle conflict or confusion. You gather the evidence, you look for the underlying psychological pattern, and then you name the culprit.
Right, so you say, oh, that's my anxious attachment style, or that's just a toxic workplace.
Yes. You label it and you close the case. Boom. Solved. Now you can move on to the next one. We do this with everything. Our childhoods, our breakups, career setbacks.
Because we want the file to move from active to archived.
Totally.
We want to be able to say, I know exactly why my boss acted that way yesterday.
Yeah.
Because having that answer feels like a victory. It feels safe.
It does feel safe, yes. But the main argument here is that a solved life isn't actually a life at all. It is just a record of one.
Wait, a record? What do you mean by that?
I mean that the moment something is solved, it becomes past tense. Instead of a living, breathing reality, it just becomes static.
Oh, I see.
The source material uses this really vivid image. It's like taking a beautifully complex living butterfly and pinning it to a corkboard.
Oof. Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
yes, you can study it perfectly now. You understand its wingspan. You've categorized all its colors. But it's never going to fly again.
It's just stuck there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It has absolutely no more living left in it, and it isn't asking anything of you anymore.
That's a really haunting image. Pinning the butterfly to the board.
Yeah.
There's this quiet violence to that, right?
A quiet violence. Yeah.
Just the slow sealing of a door. But, if closing the case feels so incredibly good, if it gives us that hit of dopamine and that safety, why is it fundamentally dangerous to our actual growth? Like, shouldn't we want to figure ourselves out?
We should definitely want to understand ourselves, but the danger comes from what happens when you string enough of those closed cases together over the years.
Okay, what happens?
Well, when you have successfully explained your entire childhood and categorized all your behavioral patterns and identified all your tendencies, you essentially build what the text calls an interpretive scaffolding.
Wait, scaffolding? Like the metal framework they put around a building under construction?
That's the exact image, yeah.
So we build this metal cage around our minds.
Exactly. You construct this rigid framework made entirely of your past conclusions. So you start operating from a position of enormous inherited certainty.
Like you have an answer for everything already.
You have a framework for absolutely every single thing that happens to you. And the danger of that metal cage is that it becomes so incredibly thick that nothing new can actually reach you.
Because it hits the scaffolding first.
Yes. You already know what an experience is before it even arrives. You stop experiencing the world and start just, confirming your biases.
Which brings up this brilliant idea from the text, the petulance plague. Because, when I hear the word petulance, I think of a toddler throwing a tantrum in a grocery store.
Right. Just loudly and stubbornly refusing to be wrong.
Yeah, exactly. But the plague we are talking about here is something far more insidious and honestly, way more common in adults.
It's not loud at all. The petulance plague is this dignified, quiet certainty that you already know the answer.
It's so quiet.
It really is. It is the highly experienced, therapy-fluent version of shutting down. You aren't arguing with anyone. You just aren't asking questions anymore.
Because you don't need to.
Right. You stopped asking because you already have your very reasonable answer. And everyone in your life agrees that your answer is very reasonable, so you just keep right on coasting.
Oh my gosh, I see this all the time. There's nothing more infuriating than someone calmly weaponizing therapy terms during a totally normal disagreement.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you're trying to have a legitimate argument about, I don't know, who forgot to buy oat milk, and they calmly tell you that you were projecting your childhood scarcity mindset.
Which just completely derails the actual issue.
Yes. They aren't actually listening to you. They've just slapped a label on the situation so they don't have to engage with the messy reality of the moment.
That is the perfect real-world example. They're completely immune to the actual moment because their scaffolding is doing all the work.
Right.
They're insulated by their own perceived expertise about themselves and others.
So if having a perfectly organized mental filing cabinet isn't the superpower we all think it is, if it's actually a blindfold, how do we break the lock?
That's the big question.
Because right now, it sounds like every thought we have just confirms our own bias. We aren't processing our life as it happens. We're just doing data entry.
Data entry is a great way to put it.
Taking every new, messy breathing experience and rigidly filing it into an old folder. Like, oh, my friend canceled plans, file it under abandonment issue. Boss didn't smile, file under imposter syndrome.
Exactly, just sorting files.
So how do we stop the data entry?
The only way to unseal those containers is by asking questions. But, and this is the massive caveat that changes everything, not all questions are built the same.
Okay.
We have to draw a really hard line between what the text calls an anxious question and a genuine question.
Because we ask questions all day long, but we usually ask them just to get an answer to stop feeling confused.
Right, and the difference between the two isn't just intellectual, it is deeply somatic.
Somatic, like physical.
Yes, it is a physical difference that your body registers immediately. Think about an anxious question. Things like, why did this happen to me? Or what does this mean for my career?
Okay, yeah.
When you ask those, your body tightens. It grasps.
Uh.
There is this frantic urgency coded into the question because the entire goal is to eradicate uncertainty as quickly as possible.
You just want pain of not knowing to stop.
Exactly. You can literally feel the search for resolution clamping down in your jaw or tightening your chest, knotting your stomach. You are hunting for a fixed answer to grab onto so you can stop feeling out of control.
I love the phrase the text uses to describe this. It calls them desperation, dressed in question clothing.
Such a good line.
They aren't real inquiries. They are demands. And for you listening, think about how you feel when you are waiting on a really important package.
Oh, the package tracking panic.
Yes. Maybe it's an expensive piece of tech you ordered and it's delayed. You are sitting at your computer, furiously hitting refresh on the tracking page over and over again.
Just mashing the button.
Exactly. Your shoulders are up by your ears, your breathing is shallow. That is exactly what an anxious question feels like in your body.
Totally.
You don't actually care about the mechanics of the shipping route, you know?
Yeah.
You are just using the inquiry to find an exit from the discomfort of waiting.
And that physical clench is the dead giveaway. A genuine question, somatically speaking, does the exact opposite.
So it relaxes you.
It opens the body. Something in your chest actually expands. A genuine question carries an exhale with it.
Wow. An exhale.
Yeah, it is a profound willingness to simply sit with the unknown rather than racing to escape it. You let the question live inside you rather than trying to burn it through you to get to a resolution.
That's a huge shift.
It is. Anxious questions use inquiry to find a way out. Genuine questions use inquiry as a practice of presence.
So I'm basically leaving the front door open just to see who arrives,
Right.
rather than frantically checking the peephole every 2 seconds.
Exactly.
That makes sense conceptually, but practically, I mean, it sounds really difficult.
Oh, it is extremely difficult because a genuine question is a deliberate act of unsettling yourself.
Unsettling yourself on purpose.
Right. It takes that sealed file folder of your past conclusions and pries it open just enough that the thing inside can breathe again.
And fly off the corkboard.
Yes. Because the hard truth is, most things in your life were never actually as settled as you made them out to be. The closure was entirely yours.
The thing was still moving.
The thing itself was still moving, yeah. You just chose to stop looking at it.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because applying this open door policy to our own internal thoughts is one thing, but applying it to other people.
That's the tough part.
Let's ground this. If I try to unsolve the people in my life, especially the people who have deeply hurt me or betrayed me or just thoroughly confused me, that gets incredibly uncomfortable.
It does. It really does. Our conclusions about other people are the clearest, most undeniable examples of solving an action.
Right.
Think about someone you have a difficult history with, maybe an estranged family member. You know why they did what they did. You know what it says about their character.
You have them completely figured out.
You have a completely solved version of them in your head. It is the interpretation that made sense of your pain and organized your response to them. But the tragic flaw in this is that the moment you achieve closure about someone, you stop meeting them.
You stop interacting with the living, breathing human being, and you only interact with the concept of them that lives in your head.
Exactly.
They become a type, like a concluded case.
Precisely. Let's say you go to Thanksgiving dinner with that estranged parent. You've already decided who they are, so when they speak, you are no longer observing them.
You're just scanning.
Right. You are just scanning their words for confirmation of your existing theory. Like, there's that passive aggression I categorized 5 years ago.
I knew it was coming.
Exactly. And if you dare to ask a genuine question about them, if you dare to sit across the table with a real willingness to not already know who they are, it begins to dissolve that solved version, which brings up the sheer terror of the unsolved.
Hold on, though. I need to play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
Because if I don't solve why an ex lied to me or why a parent was emotionally absent, I am just leaving myself completely open to getting hurt again.
That's the fear, yeah.
Like that solved version of them is doing a job.
Yeah.
It's my emotional armor. It protects my righteous anger. And honestly, it excuses me from having to feel the raw, humiliating pain of the situation all over again.
Absolutely.
Why on earth would I willingly drop that protective shield?
It's a completely valid defense mechanism. I know why that happened as a shield, and it protects you from standing in the rawness of an experience that doesn't have a neat and tidy why attached to it yet.
Right, it keeps you safe.
Every closed answer is closing around a vulnerable version of yourself that needed protecting at the time. But here's why you have to drop it.
Okay, why?
Because the shield doesn't just block the pain, it blocks the life.
Wait, what do you mean it blocks the life?
The cost of that protective closure is your own aliveness and the actual aliveness of your relationships. When questions unsolved people, what gets unsolved isn't just who they are, but who you were in relation to them.
Oh, wow.
If you keep the shield up forever, you can never evolve past the exact moment you put it up. Letting it go allows both of you to evolve, or at least allows you to see the reality of the present moment clearly.
So you aren't stuck in the past.
Right. The alternative is spending the rest of your life interacting with ghosts, with static concepts instead of actual people.
That hits hard, interacting with ghosts. Because if I'm interacting with a ghost, I'm not really there either.
No, you're not.
Which means we are forced to turn that unsettling lens completely inward. If our absolute conclusions about other people are mostly just self-protection mechanisms, then we have to question the very machinery of how we know anything at all.
What's fascinating here is that that is the bedrock of this entire philosophy.
Really?
Yeah. The deepest questions you can ask are not about what happened or who did what to whom. The deepest questions are about your own perception. What do you know, and exactly how did you come to know it?
Think about the depth of that.
Yeah.
Asking yourself in the middle of a conflict,
Yes.
am I experiencing this person right now, or am I just experiencing my idea of them?
That's huge.
Or even wilder, sitting at your desk at work and asking, am I actually present in this room right now, or am I just running a simulation based on previous data?
Yeah.
That is a dizzying thing to ask yourself.
It completely unsettles your internal ground of navigation. These aren't questions that give you a 10-step action plan for success.
No, not at all.
They force you to look at your internal map of the world and ask, was this map drawn accurately based on reality? Or was this map drawn frantically, quickly, during a moment of intense pain 5 years ago, and I've just been blindly using it ever since without ever checking it against the actual terrain?
I see this clash all the time with what the wellness industry calls doing the inner work.
Oh, right.
Because a lot of self-improvement today is really just a domesticated process. It is a highly structured, manageable sequence. You feel some discomfort, you journal about it using a specific prompt, you get a little insight, and boom, resolution.
Just very clean.
It guarantees a cleanly outputted, newly solved version of yourself.
Yeah.
It feels safe because the outcome is guaranteed.
Yes, those processes are ways of making inquiry safe. You aren't actually in an open state of questioning. You are just participating in a heavily managed mystery.
A managed mystery, yeah.
And look, having a process can be a helpful starting point when you're overwhelmed, but it is fundamentally different from genuine open inquiry.
Because genuine inquiry is terrifying. It offers absolutely no guarantee of a clean resolution.
None at all.
You ask a genuine question, and instead of an answer, you might just find 3 more terrifying questions hiding inside of it. You find out the floor you were standing on is actually dissolving.
You find out the floor was made of answers that are no longer true. But here is the crucial realization. When that floor dissolves, you realize you are still standing.
You don't just fall through.
Exactly. You haven't fallen. You were just standing on something much less certain, but vastly more real. This is the deepest form of unsolvedness.
Being okay with that suspension.
Yes. It is the ability to say, I am starting to be genuinely uncertain about the machinery I use to know anything, and actually being okay with that state of suspension.
So what does this all mean for the person listening right now? Maybe they're driving to work or dealing with office politics. If I toss out my guaranteed processes and I accept that my mental maps are probably flawed and I refuse to just file everything away in my archived boxes, won't I just freeze up?
That's the immediate fear.
Like, how do you make decisions or lead a team or navigate a marriage if you are constantly living in the unsolved? Doesn't that just lead to total paralysis?
It is the most common fear, but it's a complete misunderstanding of what it means to live in question. Living in question doesn't mean you stop moving.
It doesn't.
No, it means you start moving on automatic. You can absolutely make decisions without having fully concluded what everything means.
Oh, okay.
You can show up to your life, to your job, to your family without having it all figured out. In fact, showing up without having it all figured out is the definition of actual presence.
Because everything else is just the performance of a conclusion.
Exactly.
You aren't really there. You are just reciting the lines from your archived files. You're playing the role of the manager or the aggrieved spouse based on a script you wrote years ago.
Precisely. Think about it in a work context. A leader who acts from genuine uncertainty is actually far more present and often far more effective than a leader acting from absolute, rigid certainty.
Really? Why is that?
Because the uncertain leader is interacting with what is actually happening in the room right in front of them. They are reading the actual terrain rather than reacting to their predetermined, solved version of the event.
They can pivot.
Yes. They are responsive, not reactive. And this highlights a vital distinction between knowledge and wisdom.
We definitely tend to conflate those two all the time in our culture. We think the person with the most knowledge is the wisest.
But they are vastly different. Knowledge is simply a collection of accumulated answers. It's that heavy, burdensome filing cabinet we talked about earlier.
Right.
Wisdom, however, is the rare, courageous willingness to keep asking. It is the capacity to hold your conclusions lightly. You still have theories about the world, you still have to navigate your day, but you treat them as useful working theories rather than permanent, unquestionable truths.
So you still use your maps.
You operate with your working maps, but you remain entirely open to the territory, showing you a river or a mountain that your map missed entirely.
So if we pull all of this together, what is the core shift we are asking the listener to make? To me, it is the realization that unsolving your life is not an act of chaos.
Not at all.
It isn't just refusing to learn or grow so you can be lazy. Unsolving your life is actually an act of profound loyalty to yourself.
A loyalty to the living, breathing entity that you actually are, which is always, always more expansive than the version of you that got solved last.
That's it. It is you looking in the mirror, despite all the societal pressure, to have your personal brand and your elevator pitch and your 5-year plan perfectly dialed in and declaring, I am not done being discovered yet.
Yes.
I am not a finished product. And every time you ask a genuine question, you give the things you've held too tightly, your relationships, your past, your own identity, a chance to finally exhale. What was sealed opens. What was pinned to the corkboard gets to fly again.
Because life doesn't need to be solved. It needs to keep moving. And the genuine question is the only mechanism we have that allows it to do so without getting trapped in our own mental scaffolding.
To quickly recap this journey we've been on together, we started by recognizing the trap of the solved life, where everything is safely categorized, but ultimately past tense.
Right, the pinned butterfly.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
And then we learned to feel the physical, somatic clench of our anxious questions. That desperate need for immediate resolution, like refreshing a tracking page.
For panic.
Yeah. We looked at the painful but necessary mechanics of unsolving the people who have hurt us, realizing that our closure is often just a shield blocking our own aliveness. And finally, we discovered how burning our outdated maps and holding our conclusions lightly allows us to actually be present in the room.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it fundamentally redefines what it means to be alive.
It really does.
The most vibrant, truly live people you will ever meet in your life are never the ones with the best, most airtight answers. They are the ones who are still genuinely interested in what is actually happening right here, right now.
They're still curious.
They haven't finished. They are still arriving. They realize that a question isn't a gap in their knowledge. It is simply the form that knowing takes when it is still honest.
Which leaves us with the final challenge for you, the listener. We've spent a lot of time today talking about unsolving your past and unsolving your relationships.
Yeah.
But what about your future?
That's a good one.
Think about a major goal or a 5-year plan that you have completely locked in. You know exactly what you want to achieve and exactly how you are going to feel when you get there. Now ask yourself, is that perfectly solved future actually a cage? Is your certainty about tomorrow protecting you from the terrifying, messy, unpredictable reality of what you might actually become if you strayed off the path? What if, just for today, you unsolve your own ambition? Keep the door open. Let the mystery breathe. Until next time, keep diving deep.